Hi Noteboard Gamers and welcome back to Noteboard Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a quick look at this game right here, which is Vrahode, Age of Prophecy, which comes from Weathervane Games and is designed by Jeff Irving and Sean A. Dressler. Now Vrahode, Age of Prophecy, or Vrahode as I'm just going to call it from now on, is they kind of position it as a GM-less Dungeons & Dragons style game. And you know what? In the main, it kind of does achieve a lot of those points. Because what you're going to do in this game, it's a fully cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, and you are going to take on characters throughout this ever-evolving kind of story, this unveiling story, as you have battle after battle and upgrade your characters and try to get to the end of where you need to be. Now, this is a special preview version that they've sent through, so it's not the full game, and this comes with 8 scenarios. I think the final version is going to have something like 24 or something like that scenarios. There are a number of playable characters in here and a number of wonderful minis as well. As you can see from here, there are some absolutely fantastic washed minis. This isn't all the minis by a long stretch of the imagination, because not only does it come with minis, but it also comes with some cardboard standees as well. In the game, you're going to take on the role of an adventurer using this rather interesting and really workable kind of player board here. You can see it's raised, it's plastic, you're going to put sheets on there, etc., and track your stats on there as you go along and try to work your way through this narrative adventure. And it is a narrative based game. You're going to start off reading some preamble in the book, then each scenario has its own kind of narrative on there as you complete the scenario, and then move on to generally the second part of that particular scenario, and you're going to continue with your characters, obviously upgrading, etc. So yeah, that's going to continue throughout as you try to unfurl the story and get to the end of the story. All the while, of course, your characters, whichever one you've chosen, are going to be upgrading their skills. They're going to be upgrading their equipment. They're going to be becoming stronger, hopefully stronger. They're going to need rest in between, and also fighting stronger monsters as well. Now, in the version I've got, there are 4 characters that we can choose from. We have Aldira the Blade. There we go. We can see Aldira there. We have Eclipse the Spark. We have Clarion the Augur. And we also have Wirich the Shadow. And you're going to choose one of these adventurers, and you're going to put them into your player board here, and that's going to dictate your starting equipment. And then what you're going to do is head out on the adventure. It's generally going to involve fighting things. So pretty much like most, not all D&D episodes, or not all D&D games, but a lot of D&D games that I play, or sessions that I play, they're going to involve a large element of combat. And that's what this has in spades. It's essentially combat and a kind of narrative-driven combat. But as I say, the aim of the game is to try and increase the strength of your character as you get further and further on into the campaign. And you're going to do that by taking rest, by completing quests, and picking up certain items as well. Well, there's certain skill cards. We have mind skills, we have focus skills, we have spirit skills, and we have body skills as well, and those have different effects on what you do. Your body and your focus ones are generally related to your combat. Body is for melee combat and focus is for range combat. Mind and spirit do different things. It can help you regain health, etc. But you're also going to pick up a number of items as well. We have some basic items, and we have some here we go, some regional items, so each area will have its own items there as well. And we also have some treasured items. So of course, the more of those that you get, the more unique your character build is going to be. So far, so D&D. And I think that's what, as I say, right at the beginning, what they've looked for here is trying to capture a D&D type experience. And in the main, they've done that. I think, a lot of games hope to capture that kind of GamesMasterless experience from Dungeons & Dragons, and it can never be truly achieved because, of course, when you're playing a GamesMasterless system, then what you've got is a relatively scripted narrative, and that is the case here as well. But a lot of the stuff feels very much like a D&D adventure. One of the interesting things you can do, so on your turn, you can generally do 2 things. You can move, you can attack, you can move and you can play a skill, or you can attack and you can play a skill. So there's generally 2 things that you can do on your turn. And how that's going to work is, say if you want to attack, what you're going to do is generally roll a d20. Now, on each of your character's skill cards, etc., on your skill board, depending on what attack you're doing, it tells you what their current value is for that. Say, for example, I was making a melee attack, and currently my body is at 10 on there. I would have to roll 10 or less on this to make that hit, basically. Okay, and that would give me the value of what's on my card as a hit value. Here we go. Focus here. 4 focus. It's a ranged attack. I've got a bow, and it's going to cause 3 piercing damage. So for a ranged attack, you use focus. For melee attack, you use body. I roll this, and here we go. I've rolled a 17. My focus is currently at 12, so I would have missed that attack. However, let's say I'd rolled a 7, like I have here. You also roll at the same time this modifier die, and what that does is that goes from -1 to +3. So -1, -2, -3 to +3. So -3, -2, -1 up to +1, +2, and +3. There's no 0 there. That would effectively kind of modify the roll that I'd made, the value of the card that I'm using to hit with there. So here, for example, I've rolled a 7. I know my ranged attack is going to hit. Roll a modifier. It's -3. Unfortunately, that means that my my bow here, which has got a 3 damage on it, would have 0 damage. But let's say I'd rolled a -1, okay? That still left 2 hits on there. However, the creature that I'm fighting has a mitigation score, as do I as well. And the mitigation score here is 1 for this particular creature. This is the plain shrike. So what that would mean is that, remember, I started with a base damage of 3 because I rolled successfully, -1, left it at 2, -1 because of its mitigation. That means it's down at 1 damage, so I would have effectively caused 1 damage. Now, when it comes to the bad guys, there are a number of bad guys. You get these cards and the standees, and let's say there's a really nice miniature in there as well. They've got a number of things on there. They will move, and generally they're moving towards you. They're going to try and get into a range to try and hit you. They have mitigation. It shows you what their life is, tells you what their roll value is as well. And again, that comes down to this die here. If they roll under that, then they will do an attack for you. It tells you how many of their special attacks they've got as well, and what damage that gives. Because at the bottom of each card down here, you have a special attack, and it will always try to do that first if it can, but it only has so many when it's on any particular scenario. So if it's done that twice, then it's not going to do that. It's just going to move into a straightforward attack for you. However, if it tries that and it misses, it will go into a standard attack for you. So you will do that over a number of rounds, and you will try to defeat the monsters that are on the board. Now, pretty much like D&D, it works on an initiative system. We've got these initiative tokens here. And you're going to draw those out of the bag. And here we go. We've got 2 initiative tokens here. We've got a 9 and a 2. So you draw them out of the bag one at a time, and whoever has the lowest initiative can go first in that particular round. However, you have these things called raw, which are these kind of crystals here. You can spend those to change the initiative order, so that if you want to go first, you can absolutely do that. Sometimes it's better to go first, sometimes it's better to let the creature go first, that way you can move in range and get an attack. However, these are limited, and you only get them back by doing a rest, and maybe some other items will allow you to get them back, but you only get them back by generally having a rest at the end of a combat. So careful spending of those is really, really important. And why is it important? Because you're also going to have to spend them to use your various skills that you've got as well, which again is a key thing in doing that. Knowing the timing of when you're going to play your skills, knowing about kind of whether you want to go first or last is really, really, really key. However, unlike Dungeons and Dragons, where you set the initiative at the beginning of the battle and that's it for the battle, you're going to do this each and every round of the battle. So what that means is that you may go first on round 1, the creature may go first on round 2. You can never truly plan for that. And that's where your individual character skills become really, really, really important, your individual character abilities. Trust me when I say that the characters, range and melee, makes a massive difference. I try to do melee type attacks with a range character just for giggles, and it didn't go well. I lost fairly quickly there. So understanding your character, understanding the skills, adapting those skills, getting more skills as time progresses, increasing the amount of items that you've got, making sure that you're constantly trying to upgrade is really, really important. Because if you get it wrong, then it can have devastating consequences, because it may well be that, depending on how you do the initiative and how much raw you've got left, that you may not have enough in your bag to fully take, or in your player's reserve, if you like, to fully take 3 or 4 rounds where the creature is constantly going first. Now, the creatures increase with difficulty and potentially in number as well. This is purely solo, so I'm playing true solo here. Of course, it's fully co-op. You could play it with more than one character if you wanted to. I've been playing fully true solo, but they will increase with difficulty as the campaign progresses, and they may well increase in number as well as the campaign progresses as well. So you need to be aware of that even on true solo, that it can be quite a daunting thing. If you get your strategy wrong, it can be quite daunting. Now, once you've kind of finished the battle, you get the opportunity to rest, and potentially you'll pick up some items as well. And rest is really, really, really important. As anyone that's played D&D will know, rest is vitally important, and whether you have a short rest or a long rest in D&D is really important. However, rest is handled slightly different here. It's handled through this deck of rest cards, and you're going to pull these out at the end of when you're resting. And if you've got more than one character, there's various things you can do with resting, like keeping somebody on watch, etc. But effectively, there are 3 types of rest card. Okay, so we have let me find a restful sleep. Here we go. We have a restful sleep card. This is the best type of rest card to get. Okay, this allows you to get 2 rule back. It allows you to get 2 fatigue back. Fatigue is bad if that grows. That can affect so many things as you play the game in terms of what happens there as well. And it allows you to get 2 damage back as well. There's a restless sleep, okay, which gives you 1 rule, 1 fatigue, and 1 damage back. And then there are a number of ambush cards in that rest deck. So if you're playing with more than one character, what that can be is that rest deck becomes a little bit of a push your luck thing here. And what happens when you're ambushed is you go straight in to fight an enemy, and it tells you whichever area you're in about what enemy you're going to fight. So you could finish a fight against a particular enemy, and you're low on health, etc. And what happens is you pull out an ambush and they come back for you again. You've got to devise a new way to actually defeat that enemy while you're still feeling down. It does give you all of the abilities to do that, but it can be difficult as well. So managing everything that you've got in terms of your rule, in terms of how you fight those enemies, is absolutely key and important. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for Vrahode, Age of Prophecy from Weathervane Studios. It comes to Kickstarter on the 1st of October. The link will be in the description below. So, final thoughts on Vrahode, Age of Prophecy from Weathervane Games. Look, as I mentioned earlier, all these games that say they're going to give you a GM-less style Dungeons and Dragons experience, it never truly quite works, purely because of the fact that a GM, a games master, will adapt to situations, may throw things in, and unless you've got books of tables and variants, etc., it's never going to truly work. However, what it does give you at the heart is that semi kind of D&D experience. Now, I play D&D very frequently, every week, and it does give me some of that same feel in a combat-based, in kind of that combat part of D&D. Obviously, there's no kind of RP here in reality, in terms of character development, etc. That all comes through the combat here. But it does give me that kind of evolving, emergent story that's littered with combat, where I'm going to get better things, get to upgrade my character, get to upgrade their stats, etc. So it does deliver some of that experience, but the thing is that you've got to remember it is a combat-based game, so therefore it doesn't quite feel rinse and repeat doing them. But you're not. It's difficult to maintain the momentum playing this for a number of hours. What are you more going to happen is, if you get that itch, is that you're probably going to put this out, play a couple of scenarios, and save your characters, and then come back to it. And that's the best way I found to play Vrahode. Is it's not that big, in-depth, multi kind of level adventure game that some adventure games can be, but they're big complex games. This is something I can set up in about 5 minutes. I can play for an hour or two and do a couple of scenarios, or maybe even 3 scenarios in that time, save it, put it away, get it back out in 5 minutes, and do exactly the same again. And that's the best way I'm finding to play Vrahode. If you have a regular gaming group, then it's great that it's fully co-op. Then of course you can all get together and, you know, play a couple of rounds of this, and you'd probably be done with the adventure. Well, obviously within a few weeks, maybe 6-7 weeks of playing it. But you're gonna have a lot of fun if you're going into it for a combat perspective. If you're looking for a deep kind of RPG style game, then this obviously isn't it, because it wears its heart on its sleeve. It tells you exactly what it is. It's a game system that allows you to have D&D style combat while you're playing it. And that's the thing, it is a game system. There are expansions or other types of game planned for this. You know, you can easily see this particular system fitting into so many things as well. In terms of, I know there's more in the Vrahode world, but you know, if you wanted to apply this to a sci-fi setting, there's nothing to stop them doing that, because the same kind of rule space would work fantastically well with just a few tweaks. When we talk about these player boards, here we go, we can see the player board here. These are really kind of great little dashboards, these. You know, you get to track and physically see all of your stats in a way that potentially you don't get to do on D&D. Obviously, anybody that plays D&D is either doing it from a paper sheet or they're doing it from something like D&D Beyond, but you've still got pages and pages and pages of stuff to go through. They've condensed all the key information down onto these natty little dashboards, which allows you to keep track of absolutely everything as you're playing it. And I really like these dashboards as well. I find that these little white pegs are a little bit too long for the dashboard, so they topple out occasionally, but that's a minor thing. However, to save it in between, my copy doesn't have this. What they've got is they've got some plastic covers that will go on the top of this and keep all of your pegs exactly where they are, so you know that you're going to save them on a on a game-to-game basis. What also I've noticed as well through having this copy and through the conversations with Weathervane is they're constantly adapting. So there's been some changes in terms of what happens on the scenarios. There's new icons to go onto the scenarios now, which will trigger certain events, which make it have a little bit more depth. The rules have been updated since I got them as well. Again, clarifying things and making things better. So I'm really interested to see like what the final version will look like, because what we got here, it's kind of, you know, a game that's still in development. And as I say, it is a preview copy of the game. It's pretty smart if you're looking for this type of game. Will it satisfy kind of die-hard, in-depth role players? Probably not. Let's be fair, it's probably not the target audience. But if you're looking for somebody that wants that kind of RPG style, D&D style feel of an evolving storyline with dynamic characters that get better as the game progresses, untold things coming at you, things that will trigger, there's puzzles in there as well, some big bads to fight, and all the time there's always this sense of dread and peril that your character may get ambushed, get attacked, run out of fatigue, you know, all these things can happen, then it may well be the game for you. So that is Vrahode, Age of Prophecy from Weathervane Games. As I say, it's coming to Kickstarter on the 1st of October. The link is in the description below. If it looks of interest to you, then please go and check it out. Be interested to see how this one develops. So thank you very much for joining me on this brief journey through Vrahode, Age of Prophecy from Weathervane Games. My name's Mark, this is Not Bored Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, check out our other videos. And one final thought, if you can't find anyone else to play with, then there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye bye.